Ever get the feeling like there's something, a whole secret world kind of operating right under our noses?
Hmm. I think we all get that feeling sometimes. What are you thinking of?
Well, today we're going to dive into one that you're probably a part of, even if you don't even realize it, the two very different silver markets.
Two silver markets. I'm intrigued already. Most people probably don't even think about it. They just think of silver as, as one thing.
Right, exactly. You just go to a dealer and check the spot price and buy your coins or your bars. Pretty straightforward, right?
Seems that way, yeah.
But our source today is this YouTube video, and it's by SalivateMetal, and it's called "I Discovered an Alarming Shift in the Silver Market." And it really reveals that there's a whole lot more going on behind the scenes.
Like what?
We're talking about a hidden market, like a
Mhm.
completely hidden market, and it directly impacts what you and I pay for our silver.
Wow, okay. I'm definitely interested to learn more about this. So let's start with what most people are familiar with, just the normal retail silver market.
Yeah, exactly. This is where we see those shiny silver eagles and bars, and you look at the price and we pay it. It's based on two things, really.
Yeah.
The spot price of silver, which is like the base value,
Right.
and then the premium, which is the extra cost on top of that the dealer's going to add.
Right, okay. So spot price plus premium equals what you pay. Simple enough. But where does this hidden market fit in?
Well, remember back in 2021 when everyone was trying to squeeze the silver market?
Oh, yeah.
Everybody was buying up all the physical silver they could,
Yeah.
just trying to drive that price up.
Yep, I remember that. It seemed like it was working for a little while there. Premiums went crazy high because everyone wanted it so bad.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah.
And so that really kind of highlighted the limitations of that retail-focused approach.
Yeah, okay.
Because while individuals are out there scrambling for their coins and bars, there's this whole other market operating on a much bigger scale, the wholesale market.
Yeah.
And that's where the big players come in, like bullion banks. And they're trading huge quantities of silver, like in the form of 1,000-ounce good delivery bars.
So like two separate ecosystems almost, one for the little guy and one for these giants.
Yeah, that's a great way to put it. And the video really suggests that what happens in that wholesale market, this hidden market, can directly impact what we see at the retail level.
Yeah, I can see how that would make sense, but why is it so hidden? What makes it so different from the retail market?
One thing is just the sheer volume of silver being traded. It's massive. We're talking millions of ounces every single day.
Wow.
And a lot of it's not even for physical silver. A lot of it is done through like paper instruments, like futures contracts and options.
Oh, okay.
So it's this paper trading, as they call it, and it can really influence the price of physical silver, even though no silver is actually changing hands.
So when you say paper trading, you're talking about like agreements to buy or sell silver at a future date.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Which then affects how much people are willing to pay for it right now.
Yeah, it's all interconnected. And here's where it gets really interesting. Over half of silver production doesn't even end up in, someone's safer investment portfolio. It's used industrially.
Oh, right.
Electronics and solar panels and medical devices, all kinds of things.
That's a huge difference from gold, isn't it?
Yeah, exactly. It's like this hidden edge that most people aren't even aware of that's driving this market. And Salivate Metal, it points out that there's been a noticeable shift in this hidden market over the last few years.
A shift? What do you mean?
They're pointing to a growing demand from bullion banks for these physical, 1,000-ounce bars.
Really?
They're accumulating physical silver at a rate that's really raising eyebrows.
Interesting. Why the sudden appetite for all this physical silver from these big institutions? I mean, they must have a reason for it. The video mentioned tariffs, but could there be other explanations?
That's a great question. And that is where the real deep dive begins. If we want to understand how these two markets work and influence each other, we need to understand what's driving these big players.
Absolutely. It's not enough to just see these changes happening, right? We need to figure out the motivations behind them. And that leads to another key point in the video, the gold to silver ratio.
Oh, right.
That basically tells you how many ounces of silver it takes to buy 1 ounce of gold, and it's been getting wider and wider in recent years, reached historically high levels, actually.
Right.
And that widening ratio might just hold some clues about what's going on in both of these markets, the hidden one and the retail one.
Okay, so we got these two interconnected markets. We've got a growing demand for physical silver. We have a widening gold to silver ratio. Sounds like we are about to unravel quite the mystery.
It does, doesn't it?
Where do we even begin to unpack all of this?
Well, I think a good place to start would be to try to dig a little deeper into why these bullion banks are buying up all this physical silver. These are not institutions that make, reckless decisions or anything.
Right.
They're dealing with billions of dollars. So
Yeah.
their actions are very calculated, that
Right.
they're based on careful analysis and, they're looking ahead strategically.
So what kind of analysis do you think might be driving all this silver buying? Is it as simple as they think the price is just going to go up?
That's certainly part of it, but it's probably not the whole story.
Right.
One theory is that these banks see silver as a way to protect themselves against inflation.
Okay.
When inflation goes up and the value of money goes down,
Yeah.
hard assets like precious metals tend to hold their value better.
Okay. Yeah. That makes sense.
Right.
But wouldn't gold be even better for that? And why silver specifically?
That's a really good question. And that might have something to do with the industrial uses we talked about earlier.
Right.
Silver isn't just a shiny metal. It's
Yeah.
actually a vital component in a ton of industries from, electronics to even solar panels. Ah, okay. So are you saying they're thinking silver is going to be more in demand in the future? So they're trying to buy it all up now?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Like they're making a strategic bet on the future of technology.
Mm,
And they're saying silver is going to play a big role in that.
okay.
And this kind of ties into another point that the video makes about how bullion dealers actually set their prices.
Right.
Remember we were talking about futures contracts.
Yeah, those agreements to buy and sell silver at a future date.
Right. And here's where the connection between the hidden market and the retail market gets really clear.
Okay.
Bullion dealers will often base their prices on those futures contracts
Ah.
and not necessarily just the spot price of silver.
Wait, hold on. So you mean I might be paying like a premium based on what someone thinks silver will be worth in the future, not what it's worth right now?
That's basically how it works.
Yeah.
And those future prices are influenced by all sorts of things,
Right.
including, those big institutions and their movements that we've been talking about.
Like if bullion banks are out there just buying tons and tons of physical silver, it puts upward pressure on those future prices,
Hmm.
which then impacts what you see at the retail level.
Wow, yeah. I'm starting to see how this hidden market is really impacting everything.
Yeah.
It's not just some, abstract thing. It's actually directly influencing what I pay for my silver.
It's a perfect example of how, markets that seem separate are actually very much connected in
Oh.
this big web of supply and demand and price expectations and honestly, even speculation.
Okay, so we got the bullion banks betting on future demand,
Yeah.
bullion dealers pricing things based on future contracts,
Yeah.
industrial demand is kind of always there in the background. Anything else that we need to be thinking about when we're trying to solve this big silver puzzle?
Well, there is one more piece of the puzzle we haven't really talked about yet. That widening gold to silver ratio.
Right.
Remember, that tells us how many ounces of silver it takes to buy 1 ounce of gold. And historically, it's gone up and down, but lately it's been going up pretty steadily.
So does that mean that silver is like undervalued compared to gold? Or is gold overvalued? Or is it something else?
That is the million-dollar question.
Yeah.
And there's no easy answer to that. But what's interesting is that this widening ratio might be because of all these things we've been talking
Oh,
about.
really? Okay. How could the bullion banks buying up all the silver
Yeah.
and industrial demand be affecting that ratio?
Well, just think about it. If all these banks are accumulating silver quickly, it's reducing the supply that's available,
Right.
At the same time, industrial demand for silver keeps going up,
Yeah.
which puts even more pressure on that limited supply.
So it's like a tug of war almost
Yeah.
with, the hidden market and industrial demand both pulling on the silver supply chain. And gold, it's kind of just doing its own thing.
Right, exactly. And that could be why we're seeing this difference in their prices and why that gold to silver ratio is widening the way it is.
So if I'm following you, silver's trying to catch up to gold, but all these institutional buyers and the industrial demand are holding it back.
Yeah, that's a great way to put it. It really shows how all these things that seem separate, the institutional buying and the industrial demand and that ratio, it's all connected.
Hmm. This is all fascinating, but I have to admit, it's also a little overwhelming.
Yeah, it is a lot to take in.
So knowing all this, how can, like, a regular person who's just trying to figure out the silver market make sense of all of this?
That is the most important question.
Yeah.
What does all this mean for you as an individual silver investor?
Okay, yeah, I'm all ears. Lay it on me. What do I need to be looking out for? What kind of strategies should I be thinking about?
Well, the first thing is, remember that the silver market, like any market, is driven by a whole lot of factors. There's no magic formula.
Right,
There's no crystal ball to predict what the price is going to do for sure.
right.
But if you understand how it works, the basics, you can start to see the silver market in a whole new light.
Okay, so it's not just about checking the spot price every day and just hoping for the best.
Exactly. You got to be a more informed investor. And that starts with understanding that the silver market's not just one big thing.
Hmm.
It's got lots of different players, and they all have different motivations.
Yeah, okay. Makes sense. But how do I actually use all of this information? Like, where do I even begin to, like, gather all this information and put it all together?
Well, the good news is there are tons of resources out there to help you stay up to date and make smarter decisions.
Okay, I'm ready to learn. What kind of resources are you talking about? Okay, I'm ready to learn. What kind of resources are you talking about?
Well, there are financial publications like the Wall Street Journal, Bloomberg, that kind of thing.
Right.
They offer really in-depth coverage of, all the trends and economic indicators.
Right.
All that stuff can impact silver prices.
Okay.
And then there are websites and newsletters that focus specifically on precious metals.
Okay.
They have lots of analysis and commentary and even price forecasts if you're into that.
So it sounds like it's not just about, like you said, focusing on the silver market itself, but kind of looking at the bigger picture.
Exactly. Silver doesn't exist in a vacuum.
Right.
It's part of this bigger global system. It's
Mhm.
influenced by what's going on in the world, currency changes, interest rates, even like geopolitical stuff.
Hmm.
So the more you understand about all that, those big picture things,
Yeah.
the better you'll be able to, make good decisions about your own silver investments.
This is starting to feel less like a treasure hunt and more like a detective investigation.
Aha! I like that.
It's like I need to gather all the clues and then connect the dots and like come to my own conclusions.
You got it. And just like a good detective, you have to be observant and analytical
Right.
and willing to, consider different perspectives.
So it's not just about finding the right information, it's knowing how to interpret it
Exactly.
and how to apply it to my own, plans.
Absolutely. And remember, there's no like one size fits all approach
Right.
to silver investment.
Your strategy should align with your goals and how much risk you're comfortable with, that kind of thing.
Okay, I'm starting to feel a little more empowered. But, predicting the future is never easy.
Nope.
And even with all the information in the world, there's always going to be that element of uncertainty.
Yeah, for sure.
So how can I be a better, like more confident silver investor, even when things are unpredictable?
Well, that's where diversification comes in.
Okay.
Just like you wouldn't put all your eggs in one basket. You don't want to put all your money into silver either.
Right.
Consider diversifying and putting some in stocks, bonds, real estate even.
So even if I'm like really passionate about silver, it shouldn't be my only investment.
Exactly. Diversification is all about spreading the risk,
Right.
protecting your money from the ups and downs of any one asset.
Mm-hmm.
And silver is definitely one of those assets that can be volatile.
Mm.
And don't forget, investing is like a marathon, not a sprint.
Yeah.
You don't want to get caught up in like the day-to-day price changes.
Focus on the long term.
Right.
Make decisions based on good analysis and a clear strategy.
Well, this deep dive has been amazing.
Glad to hear it.
It really is eye-opening how much complexity is hidden in something like silver.
Yeah.
I feel like I have a whole new perspective, and I'm really excited to like put what I've learned into action.
That's great. And remember, this is just the beginning. There's always more to learn and more to discover.
Yeah.
The silver market's always changing,
Right.
and it's exciting that we get to be a part of it.
It started as a pretty simple question about two silver markets, turned into this really interesting look at the economy
Uh-huh. Yeah,
and even like market psychology.
for sure.
Like I've been handed a secret decoder ring for the silver market, and now it's up to me to use it.
I love that analogy.
I think I'm ready for the challenge.
I have no doubt that you'll navigate the silver market with confidence.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
Absolutely. Keep learning and keep exploring.
I will.
Never be afraid to ask the tough questions.
Okay. To all of our listeners out there, we hope this deep dive has made you a little more curious about the silver market.
Yes.
And remember, it's not just about the price, it's about understanding what makes the price go up and down.
Exactly.
So stay curious,